things that I find really interesting about culturally responsive education is how philosophical it is in nature, but really it's quite simple. So how would you begin to describe these practices so that teachers can begin to implement them in their classrooms in a very practical way?
To me, the essence of culturally responsive teaching is in the words, right? Culturally responsive teaching, being aware of, accepting of, and understanding of the cultures of the students whom we serve so that we can respond to those cultures through our teaching. My name is Jay Marks. I'm a retired educator currently working as an independent educational consultant in the area of diversity, equity, inclusion, and justice. And I'm a lecturer and adjunct professor at University of Michigan in Ann Arbor and at Oakland University. Liberation looks like students going to school where their identities are acknowledged and affirmed and valued in their experiences, where they have a voice in their own schooling experience, right? Where they feel a sense of safety in school and they know they will be protected, where they know that they're humans when they come to school and they will be treated as such and respected as such and honored as such and valued as such. There's a lot of talk about valuing our children being our greatest commodity. I don't know if children feel that way all the time when they go to school, right?
In this notion of culturally responsive teaching, it is 3 parts. It's academic achievement, social political context or understanding of social political context, and cultural competence. And so in a classroom, how do we use those 3 things as our foundation for what we do with teaching? Hi, I'm Dr. Jamila Dugan. I am an author and leadership coach. I co-authored the book Street Data with Shane Saphir. We say cultural competence, it's about understanding who is in front of me, what do they value, what do they care about, what do they bring with them, what are their funds of knowledge, and what are the cultural practices that really matter to them. If this is something that is a core piece of a student's identity, then what does that mean I need to acknowledge and affirm in the classroom? What do I need to acknowledge that I do not know or do not understand? And how do I kind of bring that understanding into what I do in my classroom pedagogy?
I believe that all equity work starts with person in the mirror. A huge part of implementing culturally responsive teaching is doing a lot of work around self-awareness and examining, exploring who are you? What are your own identities, values, beliefs, experiences? Because those things shape you, have shaped you, and they shape how you teach. And those things show up in your practice.
When you think about the country right now, we're extremely polarized when you think about politics, and some people might say, well, we shouldn't be having that discussion. But in order for students to really be able to be a part of a democracy, they have to be in a place where they can talk about issues now, have discussions about that, and then allow those discussions to kind of feed how they communicate and relate to other people.
Teachers often use examples when trying to connect these huge concepts to students' learning, right? Well, the question becomes, whose examples are you using? And from whose life? Are you using your examples? Are you using the examples of the students who are in front of you? If you're using the examples that relate to their lives, it increases the likelihood that what you're teaching, these concepts, will connect to their lives.
Learning is a social construct, and that happens in a community. And so I think the most powerful thing that we can do to rediscover our own power is to build a community of learners and to build that curiosity and that safe space. I'm Dawn Linden. I'm the Assistant Superintendent for Teaching and Learning for the Ann Arbor Public Schools. Participating in this excellent conference and being able to spend time with folks like Dr. Chris Emden and Dr. Bettina Love, talking about my favorite subject, which is the teaching of children.
When did these practices first arrive into the collective consciousness of the Tri-Districts at Michigan at large?
I think it's been an evolution. It comes from a collective desire for us to serve students better. And we all know what the data shows us. And we know that historically we have underserved many populations for many, many years. And it is a desire to say, let's stop doing the same thing that we've always been doing, and let's really listen to students. Let's center student voices. And so we've had, thanks to Dr. Banks and others leading this work, we've had some sort of long-term relationships with expert thinkers, people who are really leading the charge and helping us to think differently.
It's okay to have a structure and a framework of some core things, but how are you planning lessons for students you haven't even assessed yet? And so you have this skeleton, you have this plan. Who is the plan for? And that's damaging, because now they're coming in and there's no room for them.
Checking your bias and understanding your students, really getting to know who you're talking to. Oftentimes we think, oh, well, I'm a teacher, I'm this power, da-da-da-da-da. Sometimes you just have to relinquish control a little bit and just see students as people.
What we need to do, we need to center our students in the space, ask them what they want, and create spaces for them to learn the way that they see fit, not the way that I think that they should learn. Hi, my name is Dr. Tracy Elizabeth Teasley, and I am an education consultant with the Michigan Department of Education. My specific role, I serve as a partnership agreement liaison for 6 districts in Wayne and Macomb County. I feel like we make culturally responsive and relevant teaching more complicated than it needs to be, right? It's really about knowing your student and shaping the education to ensure you meet their needs. And a lot of the ways that we do that is infusing some of the assets and the excitement of their particular culture to do that. However, just good teaching has always done that. It feels like culturally responsive teaching is really radical, and when it's done well and when it's done right, it's what has always been done.
Really, all good teaching practice does a good job of humanizing the folks who are part of the process. I, as an educator, am a human being, and I step into a classroom with other human beings. While the power dynamics between me and students are definitely shifted in my direction, we're still all humans and we have those same basic needs. Culturally responsive teaching allows those needs to be present in the room, to help shape my pedagogy, my practices, my thinking, and also allows me to honor what students bring when they step into the classroom as well. My name is Cornelius Godfrey. I'm a diversity and equity consultant for Oakland Schools. It can be difficult because so many of our kids, particularly once they've gotten to a certain age, have been so long in systems that didn't see them as sources of knowledge, as able to make sense of the world themselves, that they don't often offer that easily. But I think by asking really good questions, for giving them opportunities to make connections between content and the world that they live in, and also allowing them to explore parts of their identity that have often not been welcome or the subject of conversation and learning in the classroom. I think in those ways, students start to open up to the idea and recognize that it's not just the content that matters, they matter as well. And that the relationship that they develop with the content and the relationship they develop with teachers develops this kind of cycle where, we're impacted by teachers who have a love for content, but also a love for kids. And kids, they respond to that relationship they have with teachers and are able to build a bridge toward that content.
Some things are caught and some things are taught. And so this is one of the things that needs to be caught. Staff meetings, one-on-one interactions, small group, professional learning should model exactly what it is, because it's very difficult to ask teachers to do something that they never see you do.
Sometimes you just have to beat to your own drum. People have a certain narrative, right? And have their own perspectives on how teaching should happen without proof. Sometimes you just have to be that lone person for a minute and then try to invite people in. And then once you do that, I think it's easier to create those spaces and have allies to do this work.
So I make a big deal about birthdays. On birthdays, they can choose the song. It's got to be clean lyrics. But the ones who ask for can you bring cupcakes for us all? And a lot of the teachers I can't believe you do that all the time. I was like, well, I don't know. It's the one thing. We all have birthdays, and we should all be made to feel special and have something. And the kids like it. So they sing, and with the EL students, we sometimes sing in Spanish. And
I created a lesson about The Last of Us. We were able to talk about the fungus that affects ants, that affected the people in the show, and we were able to essentially discover and look at data to show exponential growth. And then by using the numbers in the show, we were able to make the formula for exponential decay. Even the year after, when I ran into students in the hallway, they were just like, that was one of the few things that I can truly say like stuck with me in a math class. I'm like, oh my gosh, that's amazing. And you don't really have too many of those moments. And so for them to have the autonomy really to just sit with that mathematics and really think about, well, what does this look like? And let's figure out these patterns and discover it for themselves. It was just so powerful.
I love old school R&B. And I was like, my kids don't really get to, hear the music like they, like how I did when I was growing up. So I was like, I'm gonna introduce them to this music and we're gonna make a play out of it. We had Man in the Mirror by Michael Jackson and ABC by the Jackson 5. On the day that we did our first performance, the response that we got from the auditorium from other students and staff was so amazing. And I looked to my left and right, and I had done it with 2 other teachers. And I was like, we just did something special, and we did it out of our own dream and our own vision.
It's a way of adjusting your curriculum. It's a way of, how you teach it, or to be a little bit more mindful of how you're teaching it, being adapted, and allowing the teachers to have some autonomy in what they're doing and how they're doing it, which makes me happier, makes me a happier teacher. And I don't know any administrator who doesn't want a happy teacher at this point. And like I said, everybody's got a birthday.
What resources are available to teachers, or what questions or concerns do you wish that they would come to you with?
Oh gosh, I mean, I could think of a million things. Like, hey, I've got this lesson, I don't know how to make it more engaging for students. What are some strategies I can utilize to get my students talking more? I would love to have that question. I'd love to talk about how can I use this environment that is my classroom? How do I make this space something that my students own? To allow our students and their interests to be active participants in that space. They don't walk in the classroom and the classroom belongs to the teacher. That classroom belongs to the students. This is their space for learning. We empower students by providing that zone where they are valued, they are loved, they are safe, and they are encouraged to explore. We also do that by challenging them and helping them feel capable because they all are capable.
I've really enjoyed the support of Dr. Banks. I think admin, and for the district should also know that they're such a good resource. Like if, for instance, I brought my kids 3 years to the showcase and they have paid for a bus for me every year. So something like that, they're helping us be able to attend. So I'm very grateful.
They recommended you like 3 times a day.
Oh, okay, thanks.
Great job.
Thanks. Because the kids love it. Like I still, like even this year, like it was kind of rushed. It was further away for us because, before it had been closer to us. But the kids always leave feeling like, oh, I did this. And I'm like, you can write on your little college resumes, I presented at this conference on this date. Like that is yours forever. And you did the research and this is what you talked about, and then they were able to see all these kids from other schools that, they're like, oh, there are other kids here and there are other districts.
If you could touch something within the system at large, just snap your fingers and see change happen, what would it be?
Our systems are designed in such a way that allows for equity, justice, and liberation, that every child in this country has an opportunity to have a liberating schooling experience where they can go to school and be seen, be heard, be valued, be protected, have a sense of belonging, where their humanity is honored.
I just know the power of education, the power of learning, and it's just great to have spaces like this to come together with like-minded educators to really build a coalition to really do great things for students in our community and our state. So I'm excited about it, and thank you for the opportunity.